Hi, I've worked in the industry for over 30 years in main asset management, 15 years in the UK, and about 15 years in Australia, where I'm based in Perth. I manage a UCITS EU regulated fund that is distributed globally throughout the world. We look to invest in natural resources across energy, agriculture, and mining. We are certificated as light green for ESG and sustainability. And that's my background. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nicholas. You've been managing money. You're the person who's actually managing these funds. How do you perceive that kind of from the customer that gets your funds, how they experience that in the digital world?
It's changed dramatically for me. LinkedIn is for a digital sort of social platform for me has been amazing. I find that the fund managers that I'm dealing with in the UK or Europe, they want transparency. They used to get a monthly fact sheet with top 10 holdings. They want more than that now. So the information that they need is got to be timely. So using digital is fantastic for me because I can get a message or what I'm doing in a fund out to my investors very quickly, very effectively. I've gone from having 800 followers on LinkedIn 12 months ago to over 15,000, which is phenomenal. There's no way that I could actually physically go out and market my business to 15,000 people on the phone by calling them, particularly being based here in Western Australia, because all my audiences that invest in my fund are European based. So it's just been a phenomenal change. And I agree with the comments that have been said earlier, particularly from Manish. It's a great way to grow your business, and clients want access quickly, effectively, and regularly, so it's a great source for me. And I had to embrace it. 2 years ago, I wouldn't have had a clue how to use social media, at my age. But I spend all my time now on my smartphone, constantly putting posts out regularly, and I'm commenting on things, and I've got great reactions, and it's opened up markets all over the world. So it's definitely something that we have to embrace and change, definitely.
Nicholas, how do you think about it? Obviously we can go to this question in a variety of different ways about that digital gap. You create these funds, right? These digital, the balanced equity portfolio funds, they're essential for our lives, right? But when you think about them in getting those to the customer, I mean, obviously you've mentioned that you've been very active on social media, but what other thoughts do you have around that?
It's funny because I'm probably one of the people that would actually wake up in the morning and think about a portfolio, not the car or the holiday or how do I get it. So I'm probably a bit odd in that regard because that's my mindset. But the industry that I'm in has changed in regards to digital in the way that fund managers report. So if I want to talk to a fund manager who may be an investor in my fund, like a multi-asset fund manager, normally that would be arranging a meeting, that would go through a secretary, that would be an appointment, calendar diary, whatever. You'd have to get together, you chat through those things. It could be relevant at the meeting, but because of time, markets move, it might not be relevant 10 minutes later, an hour later, or whatever. So you might miss out on things that you want to watch as in building a portfolio. Now, I found that a lot of the fund managers these days will do exactly what we're doing now. They'll do pre-recorded webinars where they'll talk about their strategy. And I find that's a great way of interacting with which fund managers that invest in my fund, that I can listen to what they're saying at the time about what it is they're investing in or what macro asset views they've got at the moment, whether they like to go into a particular sector or whatever it is. So you can pick and choose and watch a video like this, which is great, as opposed to arranging a meeting, which you then got to attend. You ask a few questions, you might not get anything from that meeting. Whereas using digital is fantastic for me. I mean, I can pick and choose as I go. And there's a lot of fund managers out there that I probably wouldn't have even made an appointment with in the first place to talk to, that I can now watch on something like this and go, that's quite interesting. I'd like to talk to this person, and then arrange a meeting.
Nicholas, from your side, you've talked a little bit about what really works for you. So clearly the whole world of digital works. Would love to hear what, and again, I think as people watch webinars, they want to learn what to do and what not to do. Any sharings on both sides of that as you've thought about that digital gap?
Absolutely. I find that detailed reports is a no. So often you'll get analysts that will do 20, 30, 40 pages, sometimes 100 pages of well-written research, and it's fantastic. But people haven't got the time to sit there and go through those documents and read them in such detail or understand them to a great length. I find that regular often posts, short posts, where you take good content, so you attach a comment to the post that relates to some content that you believe is worth reading. But my investors won't necessarily want to read that research. They like the fact that I've put some very brief comments stating what I think about the research. So it sort of resonates with them. They can say, oh, right, there's a good research report. I don't need to sit there and read the whole thing because Nick's provided me something that I can relate to, and he's put his comments there, which sort of, sum up what the report is about. So regular, often posts, short, sharp, and also find that they're human. You had that human element. I work with some guys that will correct my grammar and spelling, but I often find that people like a bit of human touch, that you are real and it's coming from you, not from some analyst that's written it for you or some ghostwriter. So a bit of the human touch added to the digital world kind of goes well with my followers, if you like, on LinkedIn. So those are the sort of things that I tend to do. A definite no-no, and it's a thing of the past now, and this is dinosaur stuff, PowerPoint presentations. We've got one, it's on our website. I think it's on LinkedIn. I don't think I've ever used it. And in fact, I can't even remember what's in our PowerPoint presentation, to be honest. And it was well written and it's really good and it looks fantastic. But I don't think anybody has ever looked at it or even cares to mention it. And I've never been asked to present it. So PowerPoint presentations, a definite no.
So maybe just to come to a summary that we have. So I think we've looked through these three different questions. I maybe would like to ask for one key takeaway from each of you as we wrap up. For the people who've listened to this who are thinking, how am I going to do digital? Whether they're at the biggest organization or at a firm that's, let me think, a quarter of the size of Eden, which would be one, because you have four. So what would be that one takeaway from the closing, thinking about the customer? Let's phrase it in this way. If you're thinking about your customer in the digital world, what's the one takeaway people should focus on?
It's very hard just to sort of say one thing, really, isn't it? And I'm trying to think, and several things come to mind. But I would agree with what Richard said in some of the things he said there, that I think be true to who you are as a business, stick to your knitting, don't try and be something you're not, which often institutions do. They try and be something to everybody. And the main thing that we do at Eden is we invest on behalf of clients' money in order to protect it and to grow it. We're not driven by profits for ourselves as a business. We're driven by protecting clients' money. So look after your clients.